mind-boggling as well. In the small confines of the car, he breathed in her sensual aroma. She was wearing the same fragrance she had the night they'd met. It had been hypnotic then, and it was hypnotic now. He couldn't help but smile. It hadn't taken her long to notice he was driving in the opposite direction of where she lived. Joy was a cop, after all, a detective. Being observant and perceptive and paying attention to detail were essential parts of her job. Today, she was off the clock, and she was with him. He didn't want her in cop mode. He much preferred having the element of surprise on his side. He'd known when he'd decided on this plan of action that it wouldn't be easy, given the astute person that she was, but he was determined to pull it off anyway. "No, this is not the way to your house," he finally said. "Where we're going is a surprise." He decided to at least tell her that much. "A surprise?" He liked the way her brows shot up whenever she received new information. "Yes, Joy, a surprise." He liked her name. Something about it, especially whenever he said it, made him think of pleasure, contentment, and sexual bliss. They had met 6 months ago at a charity function at Charlottesville's Martin Luther King Jr. Performing Arts Center. While standing in a group conversing with friends, he'd glanced around the room and seen her. Actually, he'd caught her staring, checking him out. And she'd been pretty damn bold, not stopping when their gazes connected. He'd boldly checked her out in return, and had definitely liked what he'd seen. She was a beautiful woman, and the silky-looking emerald green dress she'd worn that night had complemented her body and clung to her curves. It had showcased a pair of gorgeous long legs and a pair of gold stilettos. He'd even liked the way she'd worn her dark brown hair that night, chin length and cut into a trendy and sassy style. But then, he would admit that he liked how she wore it now as well. It was a lot longer and fluttered against her face while falling in fluffy waves to her shoulders. And speaking of her face, he would admit to having a thing for her high cheekbones, sable-brown complexion, straight nose, and rounded chin. On that night, even from across the room, the sexual chemistry had flared between them, nearly tripping his pulse and definitely stirring his libido in all kinds of ways. His attraction to her was stronger than any he'd ever felt, and he knew there was no way he would leave the charity ball without learning her identity. In less than 20 minutes, he'd finagled an introduction. And the strange thing was, he'd always had an intense dislike for cops. At least he had, until her. "And since it's a surprise, that means you won't be getting any more information out of me," he added, studying her outfit. He thought the blue lace dress she was wearing today looked good on her. Sexy as hell. Clinging to her curves as if they were a lifeline. Definitely his link to sensual fantasies. He told her more than once today just how nice she looked. This was only his second time seeing her in something other than a pair of dark slacks and a nondescript button-up shirt. He knew that as a police detective, she intentionally downplayed her beauty. But her looks and curves were things that couldn't be hidden, no matter what she wore. "Normally, I don't like surprises." The corners of his mouth twitched in another smile. That's what he'd heard from one reliable source, but he intended to make sure she liked this one. "Just keep an open mind, Joy. I decided it was time for our first official date." "I thought attending Stryker and Margot's wedding together was our first official date." Turning his eyes back to the road when the traffic light turned green, he said, "Attending the wedding with me doesn't constitute a date." "And why not?" He quickly stole a look at her in time to see her brows shoot up again. "Because you were invited to the wedding anyway. We just happened to ride in the same car together." She chuckled, and the feminine sound stirred something deep within him, assaulting his senses in ways he definitely wasn't used to. "I guess that's a different way to look at it, Stonewall." The way she said his name in that sexy voice.